What's going on, guys? So a few weeks ago we made a video on this wall you see here behind me, this accent wall we created at the Partridge House. And we had someone leave a really good comment below saying, I really wish this was renter friendly. And that got me thinking, what projects can we carry out that are friendly towards renters? And a lot of what we focus here on our channel is kind of geared towards that homeowner, someone who can make a permanent change in their house and not worry about it, or apartment for that matter. But what about those people who can't? Which brings us to this week's episode of 5 Minute Fridays. And what we're going to be doing is transforming this just plain painted wall into a feature wall. And we're going to be doing it using wallpaper. And not just any type of wallpaper, we're going to be using peel and stick wallpaper. So if you have a completely prepped wall like this, primed, painted, nice and sealed, you can place peel and stick wallpaper for a non-permanent accent wall. So there's a few tools we're going to use to complete this project. I've got two different types of scrapers, a small flexible one and a large, metal version that's not quite as flexible. These are used to spread out the wallpaper and make sure you don't have any bubbles underneath. I have a standard tape measure. We're just going to kind of get a rough idea of where each of our sheets are going to end and kind of mark that out on the wall beforehand. And then finally, I've got two different knives, a small set that looks kind of like that. That's great for fine dexterity work. And then just a normal box knife for any just kind of rough or general work. And then the final thing we're going to need is something to make sure we're actually nice and plumb and working straight all the way along. And for that, I've got my big Irwin box level.
We're going to start this project off by marking out our wall to determine how many strips of wallpaper we're going to need. This is also a great time to remove any of the faceplates on your outlets or plugs in the room. Now we can determine the length of wallpaper we need in each strip by measuring the height of our room. We'll leave a few inches extra overhang that can go onto the ceiling and onto the baseboard below. This will get trimmed off once we put the wallpaper on the wall. I'll trim all of the wallpaper ahead of time just to smooth line the process once we get started. Before you actually go ahead and cut your wallpaper though, you should double check to make sure that you don't have a repeating pattern. If you do have a repeating pattern, you want to determine exactly where the overlap must occur before cutting your wallpaper to the appropriate length. It's finally time to start hanging our wallpaper. Now you'll notice I'm not concerned with lining up the wallpaper perfectly against the ceiling or in the corner of the room. What I'm most concerned with is making sure that my open edge of wallpaper is perfectly plumb. This will make the process far simpler than if your first sheet of wallpaper is put up crooked. Using the small flexible scraper, I now start working from the inside towards the edges, smoothing out my wallpaper and ensuring there's no bubbles caught underneath. Continue this process all the way from the top of the wall down to the bottom. Align the second piece of wallpaper and repeat that same process, working your way from the top of the wall to the bottom. Now it's time to trim off those extra few inches of wallpaper. I use my large metal scraper to push the wallpaper tight to the top of the baseboard and then use it as a guide with my fine knife to trim off the excess.
is making sure you get that first strip you put in nice and plumb, as level as possible, because from there you can just fly. And then the second hardest part is probably finishing off that final corner down the bottom. You gotta work carefully so you don't poke a hole in as you're kind of creasing things up, especially if you're gonna be overlapping two different walls. But that about does it for another 5-Minute Friday here at the Homestead. Thanks a ton for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and click that little bell icon so you guys get notifications every time we release a new video. And we'll see you in the next one.